Hello, and welcome to today's session related to the incoming tax withholding reform in France for 2019. With ADP, don't settle for a passive role. Take the lead with this new obligation and build an even closer working relationship with your team. We will support you in meeting the challenge of tax withholding with confidence and transform this new obligation into a HR opportunity for your company. Before presenting to you what ADP has prepared in terms of dedicated, bespoke support for its customers, I will start by reminding you of the major principles behind tax withholding in France, also known as pay as you earn. You will also learn the impact that we anticipate, both for your HR IT systems and your wider organization. As you will see, tax withholding is a revolution for the French tax administration and for taxpayers like me, or more importantly, your employees. The reform applies to the way in which tax is recovered. The way in which tax is calculated will not change. Here in a few words are the main principles that will be detailed in this session. First, the reform applies to all businesses and all employees. We'll cover the roles breakdown, who does what. We'll discuss the schedule, and we'll review the main legislative principles. Tax withholding involves payment of the tax at the moment when income is generated, i.e., from month to month. If you are an employee or receive pension benefits, tax will be collected by your employer or pension fund. If you are self-employed, a farmer, or derive income from property, you will pay tax on the corresponding revenue by installments deducted directly by the tax authorities. Tax withholding will be implemented with effect from January 1st, 2019. Did you know? Here are some figures to help you appreciate the impact of tax withholding on French households. 98% of income will be affected by the reform. 55% of tax-paying employees will be subject to a zero withholding rate. 1.2 million households change their personal circumstances and 800,000 children are born each year. 65% of the French population is in favor of tax withholding. Let's now take a look at the role breakdown. First, and that is a key notion, everything relating to the liabilities of the tax-paying employee will be handled solely between the taxpayer and the DGFiP, which is the French Public Finance Administration. This means that if an employee has a query on his tax rate, for example, he or she will have to ask his tax office, not the employer. The fees exchanged between the DGFiP and the employer will be undertaken via DSN, that is to say, the monthly social nominative declaration already sent with the payroll every month by ADP on your behalf. First step, the DGFiP calculates the rate to apply for each employee and notifies the employer through the electronic network and the DSN. Employers have no choice but to apply the rate notified and deduct the corresponding amount from the employee's pay stub. The employer will then notify the amounts deducted from the employees to the tax authority through the DSN. The tax withholding reform does not change the due date for the DSN, which is by the 5th or the 15th of the following month, depending on the headcount and pay date of the company. The DGFiP will levy the amount of the withholding tax 3 days after the due date of the DSN, i.e. the 8th or 18th, or quarterly for businesses that have opted for a quarterly use of payment. The DGFiP will then send back an electronic DSN to the employer, including the new rates to apply in the next payroll cycle, and will do so 8 days after the due date of the DSN, i.e. on the 13th or 23rd of the following month. From there, the employer has 60 days from the end of the month to apply the new tax rate. As you can see, each party has a specific role. There is no way for the employer to retrieve the information directly from the employee. There are 4 main stages in the tax withholding schedule. Between April and June 2018, employees will declare their 2017 income online. Then they will choose the rate that will be used to calculate their tax withholding balance. Late September 2018, the Public Finance Administration will transmit the rate to the companies electronically. November and December is the foreshadowing phase, during which companies can carry out simulations and show the simulated result on the pay stub. It will only be a simulation, no tax will actually be withheld. In January 2019, last step, the first tax is withheld. The benefit of tax withholding is that it allows employees to pay tax on income received as soon as it is generated. The Public Finance Administration talks about real-time taxation. As such, tax-paying employees have a choice as to the rate applied. They can first notify of any change in family circumstances that could have an impact on the family liability. They can choose either their own rate or that of their tax-paying household. As a matter of fact, the Public Finance Administration will calculate the household tax rate and the rate of each member of the tax household. Each member must then choose between an individual rate or the household rate. Third option, the employee can choose not to disclose his rate, and then the employer will have to apply the legal scaling guideline for a neutral rate. This choice will be made for the first time in 2018 when French employees declare their 2017 income, and from there on, over the course of time, as changes occur in the life of the tax-paying employee. Let's take a quick pause at this stage. If you have any question, please feel free to ask through the chat. Let's now move to tax withholding NU. This change in the way that tax is recovered will have an impact on the way in which you submit your payroll and more generally on your wider organization. Our discussions with our clients during focus groups have led us to anticipate three types of impact. First, the impact on your HR IT, because your payroll system needs to evolve in order to meet these new legal obligations. Second is the impact on your workforce. Indeed, they will need to be familiar with this new way of recovering tax due. And last, the impact on your HR and managing teams in dealing with the employees' queries. We recommend our clients to be vigilant when implementing tax withholding. In addition to the penalties and sanctions defined risks, it is important not to underestimate the risks that may arise. It is appropriate to be highly vigilant in dialoguing with the tax authorities, receiving rates, submitting electronic declarations, applying tax deductions, etc. The same vigilance is needed when checking payroll amounts, particularly in respect of tax output by the business. The payroll must be accurate, but the deduction must also be accurate as it is not possible to correct the amount deducted. If an error occurs in the rate or the scope of the tax, the employer will be required to correct the amount of withholding tax using a corrective block of the electronic reporting system DSN. There are also many special cases that the employer will have to manage in the reporting system. We also recommend that you do not underestimate the number of questions that your employers will ask your HR team, your managers, and you personally. Each month, you will need to apply the correct rate to calculate the amounts of withholding tax to be deducted. This new obligation will require you to update your payroll system to ensure you are capable of applying the correct rate in all circumstances. If you receive an individual rate via the electronic data reporting, you will need to apply the rate while ensuring that the employee is indeed subject to taxation. If the tax authorities fail to notify you of the rate, you will need to identify the correct rate in the scaling provided by the Public Finance Administration. You can be assured that with all the updates performed to your ADP HR IT system and the automated tools that have been deployed, everything will be calculated automatically as part of your regular payroll run. There will be no data to re-enter and no choices to be made. The system will determine the correct rate to apply, whether or not it is notified by the Public Finance Administration. Let's now discuss the new obligation for your payroll team. Your payroll manager will have to undertake new checks because the penalties that apply in the event of a mistake can be substantial. We assess the increase in your payroll manager's workload as 5% as a result of these new checks, and that increase all occurs during the usual peak period of the payroll run. Your employees will experience significant effects as a result of this change to the way that taxes are recovered. They will need to discover new ways of adapting to to pay their taxes on a monthly basis, the real-time taxation. We know that they will approach you at various stages in their professional lives, when tax withholding is implemented, when changes to the tax status occur, and also when their remuneration changes. To maintain a company-wide climate of trust, you will need to be ready to address these new questions and concerns from your employees. For example, explain how installments are scheduled, wages are garnished, alimony treatment and withholding taxes are combined. By studying this new regulation, discussing with our clients and assessing the impacts of this change in the way taxes are recovered, we have been able to prepare a dedicated support package that is customized for our clients' needs. This support is designed to respond to the new challenges that you will need to face. It is broken down into 3 topics: changes to your HR systems to enable you to complete your monthly payroll operations in the best possible circumstances, training your teams, and targeted personalized communications aimed at your workforce. This is not a project that could be completed at short notice. ADP kicked off the project in November 2016. We wanted to be ready for January 1st, 2018, as you will recall that this was the first date when this reform was planned to take effect. ADP was in position to do so because our clients had been in phase 3 of the DSN since January 2017. But it's not the main reason why we wanted to be ready so soon. Was it in fact because we wanted to support our 12,000 clients in France? Well, yes, of course. ADP produces 3 million payroll pay stubs per month, and we needed to understand the mechanisms behind each declaration to be able to automate them and make sure our clients' operations more straightforward, as well as making life easier for our 800 payroll managers who handle payroll for those of our clients who have chosen to outsource their payroll functions. We put together a project team in late 2016 and entered the pilot phase with 2 of our clients, Martel and Le Figaro. How did we select these 2 pilot clients? These 2 clients have highly diversified workforces. Between the 2 of them, they represent virtually all the employment relationships that you may need to address. Alongside traditional employment contracts, they employ freelancers, expatriates, special and at-risk contracts, as well as non-residents for tax purposes. In short, all the highly specific scenarios that we need to address in our electronic data reporting. The pilot phase took place during the summer of 2017 thanks to the support of the Public Finance Administration, with whom we had a pleasant and effective working relationship. We were able to test the mechanism behind the feeds flowing between our clients and the tax authorities. Then, we were able to ensure that the feeds also returned correctly via reporting jobs, sending and receiving individual rates. Once these rates had been received, we were able to verify the automatic calculation of withholding tax installments when the payroll was processed, and applying bandings for those employees who did not have a stated rate. We were able to validate the specifics with the Public Finance Administration and to carry out checks on particular populations. Both we and our 2 clients were highly satisfied with the outcome of this pilot phase and the excellent responsiveness of the Public Finance Administration, which enabled us to automate virtually all our feeds. So that is what we have put in place for you. We are ready to go. ADP has decided to automate all its feeds in a machine-to-machine format so that its clients do not need to perform manual operations to retrieve the feeds and transmit the amounts deducted. Machine-to-machine means that the ADP machine communicates directly with the Public Finance Administration's machine via the DSN electronic reporting system. To reduce the risk of errors and wasted time for your staff, we have also fully automated the process of determining rates for tax-paying employees who have opted to apply the banding system. More automation to maximize the efficiency of your team. But that's not all. The legislation sets out a number of mandatory pieces of information on the pay stub. Whatever format the pay stub is delivered in, your workforce will need to find the section showing their pay calculation with the basis, the rate and amount of the withholding tax, even if the result is equal to zero. And that is something truly new for ADP. They will also have to find the rate, the source of the rate, and the amounts before and after deductions. Here is a copy of a pay stub generated during the pilot phase. For greater ease of reading the pay stub, ADP chose to add items relating to the amount of the tax installments deducted for the months and a cumulative amount since January. As the implementation of tax withholding was a new legal obligation, it is only natural and contractually required for ADP to handle the changes to your HR/IT system in the context of our contract. Of course, for greater convenience and efficiency, we undertook the changes while adding a monitoring module to make it easier for your payroll experts to perform their own monitoring. There is no additional charge for this information, which is included in the recurring monthly amount invoiced on a per pay stub basis. You and your team will be confronted by questions from tax-paying employees within your workforce. We suggest that you prepare your team for these questions by signing them up to the virtual classes that we have prepared. These virtual classes are adapted to a variety of different situations and are intended to exploring the key principles of tax withholding. You can sign up your employees' representatives for these virtual sessions. Additionally, the sessions will help your staff to answer the questions that will be addressed to your entire HR and management teams. The virtual classroom format makes this training easily accessible and can form part of your overall training plan. For even greater levels of transparency and support for your workforce, we have prepared the Comfort package. In addition to the essential package that I have just presented, you will have 2 additional sets of simulations aimed at your payroll experts and your staff, respectively. From November onward, once the actual rates have been sent to you, we will be in a position to complete these simulations. The simulations aimed at your payroll experts will enable you to anticipate the effects and questions you will face in January 2019. In December, we will also be able to carry out simulations aimed at your employees, preparing them effectively as possible for the surprises that January 2019 has in store. Here, you will see some examples of inserts that could be included with pay stubs. On the left, the general insert, specify the months when they should be sent. On the right, the simulation insert that will enable all of your employees to learn about the impact of tax withholding on their net pay. This process will enable you to prepare your workforce for the shock of January 2019 and will enable you to anticipate and resolve certain questions. We will also provide special case guidance. Our special case guides analyze specific situations that could appear complex to your payroll experts, managers, and staff. These files will enable you to reassure those who need to deal with employees in specific situations, new hires, people with 30 pay periods, subsidized workers on Social Security, and will add credibility to what they have to say when faced with worried employees or those who are waiting for accurate information about their particular case. And that's it. What do you think of the support offered by ADP? Which package will you choose? What questions do you have? Please raise all of your questions on the chat and we will ensure that all of them are compiled and answered in a questions and answer documents to be sent out following this presentation. We will be sending these presentation slides to you and will provide a link to the recording in case you wish to rewatch it again. You will shortly be receiving an order form to complete in which you can review the support options explained to you today. These offers are part of the Streamline contract. Therefore, once the order form is signed, we will issue a Streamline add-on form to be approved by your HQ or the authorized add-on service person. We recommend, therefore, ideally get first the approval from your HQ before sending back the order form to ensure a smooth process. Many thanks for listening today. We hope you found this session useful and we look forward to discussing with you further. Goodbye.